Hi, my name is Ava, this is Maddie and Budima. Welcome to the PNC Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, BTN host and friend of the podcast. Please welcome Saskia Mortarotti.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Welcome back, Sas. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me back. I'm very excited to be back in your lovely space, and I feel like even since I've been back, I'm learning so much more this time around, so very happy to be back again.
So we just have a couple of questions that we would like to ask you. One of my questions is, what primary and high school did you attend and what was your first ever job?
Ooh, I love these questions. Okay, so I went to Christ the King Primary School, which is a small primary school in Geelong in Victoria, so like an hour out of Melbourne. And then my high school was also in Geelong. It was Sacred Heart College in Newtown. And my first ever job was at Kmart. Yeah, which was actually a really, really fun job to have as a first job. And I made so many friends that I'm still friends with to this day. And I just worked there after school when I was in high school.
So tell us from the beginning, where are you from and what inspired you to pursue journalism?
Yes, well, I'm from Geelong. That's where I grew up. I was born in the UK though, but my family moved to Australia and I grew up there. And when I was a little kid, I would always make lots of silly short films with my dad at home. And I did lots and lots of theatre in primary school, lots of school productions. And also I did an acting class called More Grace, which is like a Geelong acting school. And I fell in love with it and I thought, this is so much fun. And I always enjoyed writing in primary school as well and writing in high school. And so when it got to the time where I had to choose what I sort of wanted to do as a career, I was like, I know that I want to go into media, and journalism sort of falls under that media umbrella. And so it was like a nice, happy place to end up.
What is it that you enjoy most about working at BTN?
I would say I enjoy a lot of different things, so it's hard to pick just one thing that I enjoy the most, but probably going to schools and seeing people like you. I get to do lots of fun stuff, like go to different places and interview lots and lots of different people, and go to events and things that are happening to tell stories on. But I think the school visits are actually kind of the best part, and I'd like to do a lot more of them. I especially love sometimes going to schools and watching the episodes with students. We do a little bit of that sometimes, and it's really fun because you get to see the live reactions of whether or not the kids laugh at your jokes. And that's really funny. And then they sort of give you a look of like, she's stood in the corner over there, but she's also on the telly right in front of me, and that's really funny. So definitely going to schools is one of the highlights of the job.
What does it look like behind the scenes on the BTN set?
Oh, that's really fun. I've been in the studio a few times to present the show, but if you're not presenting, you actually don't go into the set very often. Amelia Mosley probably sees the set the most, but it's quite interesting. So you sort of can picture it in your head. You've got the skeleton and it's purple and it's got the big BTN sign and it looks all fun. But behind that, all you've got is sort of 3 cameras, kind of like these ones that you have in this room, but a little bit bigger. 3 cameras, and then they switch around at the end of the day, and there's a big news desk for the 7 p.m. news. And so when you're standing on the BTN set, you're actually looking straight at the 7 p.m. news set. And it's not that big of a room. It's probably about the size of this room from that wall to like the wall over there. And so when the camera turns around, it's actually quite a tight space. And you're, directly facing the 7 p.m. news. And it's just off the set, a little bit empty, just a normal sort of floor and a couple cameras. You don't even have a director in there with you. They're sat like down the corridor in a room completely separate, and you sometimes just have one producer in there with you.
What is the weirdest or funniest thing that has ever inspired your work?
Oh, there's been a lot of interesting stories that we've done this year on BTN. Everything from yesterday's episode, which is all about farting, which was definitely a bit weird, and we had to do a lot of faux farting, which was quite disgusting, to stories about eating bugs, lots and lots of different things. that come from real stories. So obviously they're based on that week's news, and they tend to inspire what we do in the episode, which is often quite silly. So yeah, yesterday we did a story because the CSIRO wants to chart your farts. Basically, they're trying to track how often people are farting to see how that relates to our gut health. And so we got a little bit silly with that and did a lot of fart jokes during the whole episode of Newsbreak. So yeah, there's lots of silly things that happen in the news, and we just play on that and build it up a little bit for entertainment.
What advice would you give to your younger self starting out from the beginning?
Oh, that's lovely. I would say just keep playing around and making stuff. I think you don't really know how things are going to turn out until you just keep making stuff over and over again. And you can just start with little silly things. And even if it's like quite a small concept, if you film something that's quite ordinary, but you film it in a way that's really cool, and you just try and experiment and get different angles and get low to the ground with the camera, and then get high up with the camera, and then do a close-up, and then do a wide shot, and then put it all together and experiment with different ways of filming and editing and writing scripts, even writing something a little bit bizarre that you think might be a bit weird. I would just say get experimental and keep making things, because the more you make things and play with things and try things out, the more fun you have, and you end up with some pretty cool stuff sometimes.
Do you have a favourite reporter at BTN that you like to work with, and if so, why?
Oh, okay. I have a little bit of bias here, guys. If you guys know Ren, who presents sometimes on Newsbreak and is on BTN quite a bit, she's actually my housemate. We live together. So if I don't say her, she might keep me up all night singing in her bedroom as revenge. So probably I'm going to say Ren. We're pretty close friends. We went to university together and we flew over here for the job. So we started the job at the same time. So she's probably one of my faves. We get a little bit silly when we hop into the studio together or when we do a skit together. She's very, very funny. But I also really love watching Jack and Joe. I think they also do very, very silly, funny things on BTN sometimes, and whenever we're watching the show back, they always make me laugh. So, and they're funny in the office as well, not just on BTN.
Tell us more about the process that you went through to become a BTN reporter.
Oh, yep. Well, I had to go to university. Well, it's not a requirement, but this is what I did. I went to university and I studied a media degree and I studied a design degree. And what was good about studying both of those is I actually do a lot of design work for BTN, which you probably wouldn't expect. You would think it would just be a lot of journalism, but we do quite a bit of editing ourselves and also make things like the thumbnail for the episode, make things like the graphics for the episode. So I do quite a bit of that. So going to uni was really good at teaching me those skills. So teaching me to use After Effects and like the Creative Cloud, which you use pretty much every day in the office, and also really good at teaching me those writing and journalism skills. So yeah, I had to do a little bit of that, and then I got a call from my boss who saw a community television show that I was working on the side just for fun, and they'd watched it and they asked me about my studies and asked me about what I'd been learning through the show and took me on board. Yeah.
If you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
I love this. I think I would like to swap jobs with maybe the Governor General, just because I think it would be interesting to see what they get up to during the day, and I feel like every day would be quite different for them. And so if you just got a random odd day where they're doing something a bit different, I feel like you would gain a lot of insight into where they are all the time and what they're up to. So maybe that. Probably the Governor General, which is a bit of a funny answer, but yeah.
What's the most unusual request or suggestion you've ever received in your work?
One of the most unusual ones stories I got given was about eating bugs, and so it was sort of implied that if we could find some bugs to eat, I would have to eat them. And personally, I think eating bugs is fine. I think lots of people do it from lots of different cultures, but personally, I don't eat bugs, and I was a little bit nervous that I was going to have to. But turns out I didn't have to in the end. I just got to fake it, which was really good. But that's an unusual request, and I know lots of people in the office have had to eat some bugs before, but some people love it, so it wouldn't have been the end of the world. It would have been fine.
What's the funniest or most embarrassing moment you've had at work?
Oh, that's a great question. Funniest or most embarrassing? Okay. I feel like I embarrass myself all the time because once you get into the voiceover booth, it's meant to be soundproof, but everyone can kind of hear you. And sometimes when we're doing sport reporting, we put on a bit of a funny voice where we talk like this and everything needs to sound epic. And that's kind of embarrassing when people can hear you shouting in the voiceover booth and you come out and they all look at you like, we all heard that. But I don't think I've done anything too embarrassing on screen. There's been a couple times where I've had to dress up in like 70s outfits and I kind of look a bit daggy and I have to like put my hair up in a bit of an embarrassing way and I'm like, oh, this is not really my style. But it works because it makes me look like I'm a part of that time period and it helps communicate that to the audience. But yeah, there's been a lot of times where I've worn some really embarrassing outfits and I think sometimes, oh, please don't let my friends watch this because I look quite silly. But the most embarrassing thing I've ever done on national television was yesterday when I did a fake fart in the episode. And yeah, that was pretty gross. It wasn't real, guys. I wasn't really farting, but the fact that the whole world thought I was is kind of embarrassing and can watch that.
What is your favourite Sabrina Carpenter song and why?
I love this. Maybe I'm really liking Coincidence at the moment, just because it's quite upbeat and fun. I also like Don't Smile off her new album. That's really good. But she used to have a song back when I was in primary school and I was really little and it was called Can't Blame a Girl for Trying. It was one of her really, really old original songs. It's going to be pretty old now, like 10 years old. And that one I still listen to sometimes. It's really fun.
Can you sing one of them for us, please?
Oh no, guys, I'm a terrible singer. I'm really, really bad. Would you sing with me? If we sang one? Do you guys know Espresso? We could sing Espresso together. Do you know the lyrics?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, where should we start in the lyrics?
Up to you. Just pick a random part.
All right, do you guys, should we go with the chorus? Should we go,
think about me every night, oh, isn't that sweet? I guess so. Say you can't sleep, baby, I know that's that me espresso.
Guys, we sound really good. I think it worked better as a group. I feel like I could hide my voice in with all your nice voices, and it was nice.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sass. We really enjoyed your insight, and thank you for being a part of the PNC Podcast. We really appreciate it. PNC Podcast out.
Oh, I love it. Thanks for having me, guys. PNC Podcast out.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here,